Hi, everyone. It's Marla. Welcome back to Light and Liberty. I hope that you're all doing well. Thank you for being here with me. It's been a while since I posted a video. Have been on a bit of a hiatus, but there were some things that I felt inspired to talk about with you today. And what that is the battle of good versus evil. And I think a lot of people are tuning into this energy right now, becoming more aware that we are in a battle of good versus evil. I think there's a lot of different ways that we can look at how this energy is taking place within the world. This might even evolve into a series of videos, but I want to focus today on levels of consciousness and how levels of consciousness affect this battle of good versus evil, or how to understand the battle of good versus evil through this, and how we can all bring to this energy our highest energy, our highest reflection, our um, highest level of love. So bear with me a little bit as we go into talking about these different levels of consciousness. And how we'll talk about this is through the political lens, because of course, this channel is about politics and culture and society. And definitely, this battle of good versus evil is playing out politically, but maybe how you think it's playing out is not going to be how I'm talking about it, at least in this video. So don't jump to a quick idea of what you think I'm going to talk about, but just be patient and let me get to the point. So, yeah, we have to consider like what are these different levels of consciousness? And let's look at them as a rungs of a ladder. And we're going to see the bottom rungs of the ladder as being the kind of lower levels of consciousness, which, as I say that, like there seems a lot of judgment with that, and I'm not intending to put judgment on it, but maybe a better way to say it is these lower rungs equate to the material realm of existence. And we could also equate it to maybe like the 3D realm of consciousness. And the thoughts and ideas that we have here are often very mental thoughts. Because it's a very mental energy at this level of consciousness, there's also a lot of programming, beliefs, and attitudes that we have developed that are reflected in how we look at the world from this level. So, if we were to look at what kinds of thoughts we'd be thinking at this level of consciousness, one of them might be that, well, I vote Democrat because I've always voted Democrat and my family has always voted Democrat. So that's something that's very connected to the material world. And it's something that is somewhat of a program that's been passed down from generation to generation in the family. Again, I'm not trying to judge these different levels, but I have to kind of use this language to describe these levels. We might also think at this level of consciousness, I'm voting for Donald Trump because the economy was better under him. Or I'm going to vote for Joe Biden or whoever the Democratic candidate might be at this point because I believe in a woman's right to choose. And so, again, this is very mental energy. It's very based in what is going on in my life day to day. And there's not a lot of spiritual thought given to this energy because it's more mental and tangible and material based. We can even say some more like um, negative, hateful ideas at this level of consciousness would just be things like Orange Man bad, and how we might um, mock Donald Trump's physical appearance. Or we could say F Joe Biden. And, that's negative because we're just having those kinds of thoughts. And either one of those situations is directing negative energy at other people. But I'm getting outside of what I want to talk about today. So yeah, but those are more just like mentally based energies and attitudes. If we go up another level on that rung of the ladder, we're still in the 3D world, but maybe we're a little bit higher. And so at this level, we might have ideas that are like reflective of our political ideology or our patriotism. So at this level, our thoughts might be, well, Donald Trump is going to destroy democracy, or only Donald Trump can save our democracy. We might say Joe Biden is the only one that can protect our human rights, or Joe Biden is a commie socialist. So, one thing to understand about this level of consciousness is it's very dualistic as well. And it's one or the other, it's us versus them kind of mentality. And we get very kind of bought into our own ideology, and we are very resistant, or we reject any ideology that isn't completely aligned with our own ideology. It's kind of like our way or the highway at this level. And so if you're not with me, you're against me kind of ideology. But like I said, really at this level, it's not a lot of spiritual awareness. It's more focused on our senses and how is politics and politicians affecting our life on a day to day level. So at this realm, the battle of good versus evil, I would say it's not that it's not existent, but I think because it's so mental at this level, what we might find is that there's a lot of people existing at this level that don't believe in God. Therefore, they don't believe in the devil. And those things, this kind of battle between good and evil doesn't even enter into their thought process with things. Maybe they're very like scientifically orientated at this level, and if it can't be proven scientifically, they don't believe it. Or as we talked about, programming is very, it has a lot of power when we're at this realm of consciousness. So maybe you're just at this level believing everything that you read in the newspaper, everything that you see on TV. Somebody tells you something and then you just believe it. Maybe you're not even like doing any research. So it's not like the battle is not happening here, but it's not where most of the battle is taking place. So yeah, these people probably wouldn't give this energy any thought at all, or they would poo-poo it if they heard someone talking about it. But that doesn't mean that they aren't susceptible to the energies, either good or bad. So let's go up another rung on the ladder. And at this level of consciousness, we're beginning to see where the material world meets the spiritual world. And we could equate this with the fourth dimensional reality, or another way to say it is the astral plane. What's happening in the world right now is that a lot of people are moving from the material plane up these rungs of consciousness into a more spiritual reality. So those people that were at the material world, now in at this level, we have people starting to go, wait, something seems funny. It seems like something else is going on rather than what I'm seeing with my eyes or what I know to be true with my senses. And so I'm just, maybe you start feeling confused or you start researching something and you start going down a rabbit hole because the material world is no longer enough to satisfy your curiousness or your confusion, your understanding of the world. At this realm of consciousness, we're starting to get more into our emotions rather than our mind. And that's important because our emotions are more shiftable and changeable than our mind. So, at this level of consciousness, this is where conspiracy theories start to come into play. Now, I'm not judging conspiracy theories, so don't take anything that I'm going to say about them as I'm trying to judge them because there are there is truth in conspiracy theories. But what we start getting into at this plane of existence is where this real battle of good and evil is taking place. So there's truth and there's illusion and there's a lot of dark energy that tries to interfere with us at this level of consciousness. This level of consciousness is where evil exists. There's things at this level of consciousness because, as I said, we're not just in the material world any longer, but we're starting to get into the spiritual realm. So the non-physical, the non-tangible is starting to exist here. So things that aren't physical, such as the devil, Satan, demons, monsters, exist here, but also things that people think about can get created here. So when people have a lot of dark thoughts, right? That's how monsters get created. They're actually inventions of the human mind that have so much energy and thought put into them that they actually can materialize on some level. Obviously, they're not physical and tangible, but they exist on some level. So, yeah, there's a lot of just negativity, darkness at this level of consciousness. So, as we begin to question reality and come into this, that's when the dark energy really wants to start attacking us because they want to start interfering with our thoughts. So, if we look at conspiracy theories, the kind of political thoughts that we start getting into at this level of consciousness is the world is ruled by elites that are trying to control us. And so there's a lot of people, as they awaken, they come into this dimension of reality. And it is a dimension of reality because a lot of people are thinking about it, therefore, we're creating it. It's like humans can create things at this level, both good and bad things, depending on where our consciousness is and our love is. So if we're focused on hate and darkness and greed and all of that, that's the kind of energy that's created. So if we look at that, the world is ruled by elites that want to control us. There is truth in that statement, but there's also a lot of distortion around that truth. And it's the dark energy that distorts it because they have their own agenda and they just want to create chaos for us. So if we're not aware of where our consciousness is all the time, they can come in and they take these thoughts that have truth in them and begin to distort the truth in different ways. We have things here in this level that are like false flags. So something will happen, and people at this level begin to talk about it's a false flag, it's a psyop. Again, there's truth in these statements, but we have to be very careful because of the lower energies that want to basically bring us into fear and hate. Okay? That's really what we have to look out for: fear, hate, judgment. And if that's where our thoughts are going, then we can understand that we're probably in this level of consciousness. Other things, kind of conspiratorial things, maybe like some of these are kind of funny, like when I say Orange Man bad, but like Bill Clinton is a regular at Epstein Island. Okay. The things at this level of consciousness, they can't be proven. And so this is how they're so easily distorted. If it was something that was more material based, like scientific, then, oh, here are the facts. And we lay out the facts and we understand that from a mental energy and it all makes sense. But at this level of consciousness where things are being created through our thoughts and through the dark energies that want to interfere with us all the time, then nothing can be proven. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's kind of, what is meant to happen, because when we are beginning to access these levels of consciousness, spirit is asking us to confront what makes us afraid, what creates judgment in us, what creates hate in us. So these things that can neither be proven nor disproven, ACT has triggers for us to understand our world in a new way. And so because things can't be proven, like there's all this ambivalence about it, and this begins to create a lot of confrontation between people too, because again, it can't be proven or disproven. So you've got people over here that completely believe it, and people over here, they're like, no, that's just a conspiracy. And then this creates a lot of animosity. It brings, hatred in, and they start calling each other names. And when we're in this energy, the dark forces are laughing because they're like, aha, we're creating chaos, we're making you hate each other, we're creating arguments. And they love that. So we got to be really careful. And this is also energy that can make us very emotional. There's a lot of stuff connected to conspiracies and the elites and children, for instance, and human trafficking. And whoa, that makes us so emotional because nobody wants to see anything like that going on. But if we're not really strong in our emotions yet, that creates openings for us to be dragged around by our emotions, and let these kind of darker energies possibly play on that. So again, I'm not saying that there isn't truth in these things or that you're wrong for believing. Like, I'm not having any judgment on anybody, because to be honest, how we should look at this is not as if I'm at this level and I'm always at this level. No, for most people, they're constantly moving up and down this ladder all day, every day. So one minute your thoughts are at a three-dimensional level, then you're at a fifth dimensional level, then you're at a fourth dimensional level, then you're at a fifth dimensional level, then you're at a third dimensional level. So it depends on, you know, what you're doing at that moment. Are you at work? Are you meditating? Are you getting into an argument with a family member? This all plays into where you are at any given moment. So that's one way, like we're constantly shifting, but also we're going through these consciousness levels where I'm down here and then I'm awakening and I'm going up to this rung of the ladder. Then I'm becoming more aware of these levels and I'm going up to this level. And then I'm becoming more aware and I'm going up to this level. So it's a little bit of all these things at once. And there's no judgment coming from me about these levels because they're all an important part of our experience and our understanding of these different, of the material and the spiritual realm. So let's go up to the next level of consciousness, but we're still in the middle level. We're still in the where the spiritual world and the material world come together and there's kind of overlays. So there's still truth, but mixed with illusion. And there's things that we're creating through our thoughts at this level. But our consciousness is still like shifted up a little bit. And so, yeah, I think a good way to think of it is when I say it's shifting up a bit, I'm not saying it to judge people, but it's like, oh, at the third level, this is our perspective. At the fourth level, this is our perspective. At the second, fourth level, this is our perspective. At the fifth level, this is our perspective. So it's just like a widening of perspective. It's not a right or wrong type of energy or good or bad. So at this next rung that is still at the middle level, the kinds of energies and thoughts and beliefs that are here are, we might say, Donald Trump is the chosen one, or my guides told me that Donald Trump is evil. We might say that politician is a Satanist, that um, that musician is putting out satanic lyrics. And so we're still at this kind of blending of good versus evil, and we're trying to navigate it. So, and really, that the energy of there's a war going on between good and evil, it kind of exists at this level of consciousness. Here's the problem that we get at this level. Okay. If we believe there's a level, if we believe that there's a battle between good and evil right now, okay, then the question is who's good and who's evil? This is where we get into that energy of, well, I believe Donald Trump is the chosen one. And then there's other people that think, oh, I believe that Donald Trump is the Antichrist. So we're still existing in a duality. So half the people believe this, half the people believe that. We're still in the energy of nothing can be proven, right? It can't be proven or disproven. So no one has a direct answer. It's not like we can use our mind and we can say, these are the facts that prove this to be true. Again, at this level of consciousness, this is where the dark energy can create a lot of interference with us. So one way that they interfere with us is they have us point the finger at the other guy. Now, there are people that want to play the bad guy, that enjoy playing the bad guy. And so, you know, they might relish that. But for the most part, all of us want to believe that we're the good guys. So what we think, what we see, what we perceive is good. Therefore, those people over there that believe something different than me are bad. Now, this energy is like the dark loves this, once again, because they can create a lot of interference. Because now it's like you versus them, or I should say, still, because in all these levels that we're talking about, we're still at it's me versus you, or us versus them. People that believe what I believe versus the people that believe something else. So they love to like create ways to point the finger, to judge other people, to create hate, create anger. Some of these things like Trump is the chosen one or Trump is evil incarnated. This kind of energy right now is creating so much hate. We really need to consider what we're creating. And remember, in this realm, humans have a big role in what we're creating through our thoughts, beliefs, emotions. So, a big part of what I want to get across in this video is that when we hate other people of any political persuasion, we're creating a lot of negativity, and that makes it very easy for dark forces or dark thoughts to take us over. And it's just like that creates more and more and more. So, yeah, who is good and who is evil? I think in order to answer that question, we kind of need to see things from perhaps an even higher perspective. Because at this level, we're still caught up in it all. So let's talk about the next rung of the ladder. And this rung of the ladder equates to the spiritual world. Now, here we're in a higher level. There's not like this line or this clear delineation between these levels, but they're all kind of like there's some blending and some crossover. But when we get up to this rung, we're a little bit out of where there's all that yuckiness, and we're in a higher, purer energy. And this is not mental energy or emotional energy, it's spiritual energy. So up here, we're more connected to our higher self. We're more connected to, we're more, I should say, out of a lot of the distortions and a lot of the programming. So from this level, we begin to see that the war of good and evil is not going on between groups of people. It's not going on between liberals and Democrats. It's not going on between different racial um, groups. It's not going on necessarily between different economic groups, but we see that it's really going on between love and hate, and how we embody the energy of either love or hate. So it really truly is a battle of good, which is God, and bad. And I'm just gonna say Satan. I don't necessarily think that is all, or the like, it's not that I'm saying that Satan doesn't exist, but I'm just trying to come up with a word that embodies just a lot of what is not God. If God is love and God is purity and God is peace and God is courage, then what is the opposite of that? Okay. It's fear, it's judgment, it's insecurity, it's anxiety. And I'm going to, have Satan represent that. That might be a little bit too biblical for some of you, but, bear with me on it. That's where the battle really is taking place. And so these lower levels of consciousness want us to believe that it's between people. So I'm good, you're bad, therefore I have to do battle against you. Like I said, the dark forces are laughing because they're getting us to hate each other. They're getting us to hate each other so much that we're wanting to, off each other or make jokes. about people getting killed. That's really that's really not a good place for humanity to be. So at this level of consciousness, we see that there's like a light and a dark, and the light and the dark is doing battle. And that and we begin to step out of the duality, and we understand that, well, everybody's light and everybody's dark. Therefore, we all are a little bit of both. We begin to see that, well, human beings are just a reflection of their unhealed aspects. So when I say that it's not people that are bad, like some of you are going to say, well, there are people that are bad. And I would say that, yes, there are people that are acting in a way that's bad because they are totally co-opted by the dark forces at this moment. But that is not who they are on a soul level. On a soul level, they are an aspect of God. And from this level of consciousness, we begin to see that we're all just an aspect of God trying to learn that we are God. And we're going through different lessons in order to understand how we are an aspect of God. So we're all playing different roles, and we all have things that we're trying to do, and we all have past lives, and a lot of energy comes from these past lives, and we're all trying to work through that in the best way that we can. Now, some people maybe have taken on a role to play the bad guy. Some people, they came into this world and they wanted to play the good guy, but then they fell into some traps of the dark energy. And the dark energy is keeping their consciousness at the lower level. So let's say that third level, where we talked about the conspiracy theories and where we're not at the higher pure level of God consciousness, and we're not the material realm, but we're at that kind of in between space where we're very subject to interference. Maybe the dark forces really took a hold of them. This might be a place where someone got addicted to drugs, and so they started to act out in evil ways because this made them susceptible to the dark energy. The dark forces will act through people. If they can find a foothold to work through people, they will. So people that have addiction problems, unfortunately, can easily become subjective to this. And maybe they have drug problems because they were depressed. And when you're depressed, that also gives an opportunity, if you allow it, for these dark energies to come in and mess with you. At this level of consciousness, we might say, oh, well, politically, the left, the right, everybody's just playing a role in order to wake everybody up and see the truth of what's been going on so that we can all come into this higher level of consciousness. I want to say, too, at this level, it's not, okay, so let's say we look at the left. There are people in the left that are co-opted by dark forces, and there's people in the left that embody these higher levels of consciousness, and they are beings that are in their heart and expressing love. If we look at Republicans, there are Republicans that are completely co-opted by the dark forces, and they're acting out in negative ways that are trying to create chaos. Again, they might not know on a conscious level that they're doing it. There are also people in the Republican Party that are forces of light that are connected to these higher levels of consciousness, and they are acting as a source of good in the world. So that's another way I want you guys to see this, that it's not all or nothing. It's a mixture of everything. And at this level, we see that the whole idea that there's any political division at all is just an illusion that we're all playing out. Because really, we're all one, or at least you can see it as we're all trying to get back to a sense of unity where we can all be happy, live our life without a lot of fear and judgment. So then let's go up to the next rung. And this is where I'm going to end these levels. But now we're more solidly entrenched in the spiritual realm yet. And now we are really seeing that all when we're in these lower forms of consciousness, that we're not always acting in love. Again, we don't need to judge ourselves or judge others at this level, but we have this bigger perspective now where we can actually see and understand all these levels, and we know when they're there, when we're acting from there. So we can have the self-awareness to say, oh, I'm my consciousness is at this lower level, and we begin to understand like what triggers that. So if we sit there and we watch the news, we might understand that, oh, like what this person is saying, it just triggered me to go into that bottom rung of the ladder because now I'm getting defensive about my beliefs and my ideology, and this person is talking against them. Or when we start doing research and we start going, wow, yeah, this is really corrupt. Why has this been allowed to become so corrupted? And look how that corruption is affecting all of us. Maybe it's like looking at the food system, and we start seeing how there are corporations that are trying to make money off us, basically. I mean, greed is really what powers a lot of the dark energy and corrupts human beings. And so we begin to see that, but we can see from the higher perspective, okay, yes, this is going on. We can kind of say, yep, that's going on, but I can still be at a higher perspective at the same time, which is, well, sorry, you can't control me. And I'm a sovereign being, and I am going to do the research to find out what I really need to eat, what's best for me, etc. So at this level, we understand that those people that appear to be evil are lost souls, and they don't know who they are. They have not found God. They have not found um, a higher power within themselves, and they're lost. And the way to help them is not to hate them, but to show love to them. You're seeing me hesitate because um, yes, we do show love for these people, but again, I'll have to speak more about things like this in another video because I don't want to go too long. We see that everybody is created has perfect beings, and they're just either playing a role, or for some reason they're not able to be that perfection. We can see that about ourselves too, because we're not always perfect. As I said, we make these transitions. Sometimes we get angry and we direct negative energy towards others. Sometimes we hear something and we think, God, I hate that person. And it's okay. Just come back, you know? This is why we're often told to clear our energy, because the dark forces want to they're always looking for that little spot where they can get in and they can start controlling our thoughts and bringing us down and making us taking us further away from God and love and purity, and bringing us into those lower realms. When it comes to our political viewpoint at this level, As I said, we exist at all these different levels. So on the lower levels, we have a preference. If you listen to my first video I did about how we change things, I said it's okay to have a preference of a political party or a person that you're supporting. But understand, like, my preference is coming in at these levels of consciousness. While I also exist at this level of consciousness, and at this level of consciousness, I see that I don't need to be so attached to that one person. I trust God at this level, and I trust that God is going to do what is right. God is in control, and we have to surrender and we have to love and not be attached to all these things. And then God works through us, and we actually become the good. We actually become the champions of the light. So we understand, hey, it's not the end of the world. Whoever wins the election in November, it's not going to be the end of the world, because I trust in God. So, and it's very likely that Joe Biden is not going to be the candidate that ends up running. But let's let's just use him for a moment, okay? We've had 4 years of Trump, we've had 4 years of Biden, and we're all still here. We're all still good for the most part, and it's not going to be the end of the world that the media keeps wanting to program us with. And even then, see, I slipped a little bit, because the truth is the dark energy is working through the media right now and working through those people. And so they're not acting from their true light of God, but we don't want to send hate to them. But we see from this perspective, okay, there's something going on here that's not right. They're trying to create fear. And we know that fear takes us into these lower levels of consciousness. So I'm not going to listen to them. I'm not going to become afraid. I'm not going to fall into hate, but I'm going to just love and accept and know that from this energy of love and acceptance and surrender to God's will, the dark forces have no control. They can't make me afraid. And I trust that whatever happens is going to be for the best. One thing about me is I've made my own transition where, in the 2016 election, I really was against Donald Trump, and I had always been a Hillary Clinton supporter. And that's when I began to go into a level of consciousness that was more like, I guess, this conspiratorial level. And to be honest, I ended up voting for neither Trump nor Hillary. I did vote, but I voted for neither of them, because when I actually went to vote, I couldn't vote for Hillary. And it was very odd, but I will say it was some kind of higher energy. Again, that's not from the highest perspective that I'm sharing that. But I just want to have a point with this. So when Donald Trump won, I kind of thought, oh God, what's going to happen now? Because at that point I was, invested in all the hate, and I was invested in, oh, this is going to be the end of democracy and the end of the world. But you know what? It wasn't. And I did fine. And I actually started to do better, even. And that's when my views of what they were saying about Donald Trump began to change. Then in 2020, really didn't like Joe Biden, and I didn't want Joe Biden to be president. And then he won. And again, my first thought was like, oh God, now what's going to happen? But that thought only lasted a very small fraction of time. And then I thought, you know what? God's in control, and there must be a reason that God wants this to happen. And so I just sat back and watched. And yeah, I began to see exactly why why that needed to happen. So, and maybe that's maybe that's another video. But my point is that it's going to be okay. And if we can stay at this higher level of consciousness and not go into fear and hate, this is what is really going to solve all our problems. And this is going to break the battle of good and evil. Because the higher we go, evil can't touch us from these higher levels. It's only when we're in negative energy, when we're in hate and discord, that they get to us. So keep rising. And when we are all in the vibration of love, that's how the good wins. That's how God wins. And that's how we all win. So thank you so much for watching. If you're not a subscriber to my channel, please do subscribe. I also have another channel, Twinstrology, that's been around a lot longer. That's a much more spiritual channel. But if that is your cup of tea, you might want to check it out. So thank you, sending you all love, and I'll speak to you soon. Keep fighting the good fight.